Woo! Woo! All right. Welcome to Get On This Shit, episode 3 podcast. Welcome. Did I say welcome? Welcome and hello. Hi. Yes, this is the first video episode. Why? Because I told you already, I'm a narcissistic person. I'm a narcissistic as fuck. I love myself, and now I get to see myself. I don't just get to hear myself. I get to see myself as well. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing. I'm wearing my clear glasses today, just in case you didn't dislike me already. Yeah, I'm very excited. This is my first time testing out this camcorder. I bought this like 3 months ago. And I did my due diligence, I read all the reviews, and I actually love reading product reviews, I guess because I'm a yuppie consumer just like you. The funny thing about reviews that people write is that it's the one thing that people will willingly produce writing wise, like it's not a 12-page essay, but some people treat it like that. I think it's very funny. Why do we do this? Why do we volunteer hours sometimes out of our day just to review a flotation device? That was a bad example. I think it's because we love to judge, especially my generation. That's something we're very good at. I think the comedian Louis C.K. touched on it a little bit when he said that a lot. He's just like, oh yeah, that's good. Not so good. Yeah, that's all right. Like that's a very poor man's impression, but that's basically our generation. We're just a bunch of spoiled consumers, and we're right at the age where marketing is really, they've refined it down to a science, so they're able to just kind of overtly and subconsciously affect kind of what we buy and why we buy it. Anyways, this is a very good camcorder. I'll give it a little shout out. It's a Canon HF R800, that one. It got a lot of kind of 4-star, 5-star reviews on it, and it's supposedly the best beginner podcaster, YouTuber camcorder. So yeah, we're in good hands for now. Best $300 I've ever spent. What have you been up to this week? Was it a productive week? For me, it was quite the opposite. I've been doing some job interviews because I'm currently unemployed and not collecting unemployment because I'm not at the bottom yet. So yeah, I've been doing some job interviews. Job interviews they're very funny. They're kind of like they're like intensified dates. Like they get right down to try to find, if they're good at their job interviewing, they try to get down to like who you are as a person pretty quickly. And I'll tell you one thing: I hate job interviews, but there's no greater motivation for getting a job than for not having a job. If you're smart, you look for another job while you're still doing your job. That's a smart thing to do. If you're emotional and impulsive like I am, you just quit your first job and then let desperation kind of drive you the rest of the way. But I'm honestly glad I quit my job because I was not happy there. And it was not to do with necessarily the people I was working with. Just, it's a driving instructor, like a lot of my colleagues were in their 50s, 60s, 70s. It's not a young man's gig unless you enjoy being incredibly bored for hours at a time. I'm not claustrophobic, but being inside a car for 8 hours a day, you begin to get a little bit complacent in your own mind. Let's just say that, especially considering you're doing the same routes over and over again after a while. I've noticed with any job where you can reach the ceiling of your knowledge pretty quickly, that's when I start to get bored, complacent, and unhappy. So yeah, hopefully I'll find a job where I'm just kind of constantly learning new things, because it happens with basically every 2 years. I get into a job, I learn everything there is to learn, and then there's no room for advancement. So back at square one, not the end of the world. I just don't like feeling like useless slob. One of the problems for me with job interviews is that I'm too good at them. I'm too good at making a rapport, building rapport quickly with the person who's interviewing me. And I'm sure a lot of you hate me right now for saying that for complaining that I'm too good at job interviews. But when you think about it, it's like the worst thing, right? Because you're spending 20 minutes, well, interviews can go longer, but usually 20 to 40 minutes with someone. And let's say you hit it off and you make a great first impression. Well, where do you go from there? There's nowhere to go but down. That happens a lot with my jobs. The place where I saw it kind of like the clearest was when I was working at a restaurant, and he hired me straight off the bat. I didn't have any waitering experience, not even a busboy, and it was a great job because I made a lot of money, but I also dropped a lot of glasses and plates and steaks and pizzas. I'll give you one story, which is actually pretty funny. One time I grabbed three pizzas, because the pizzas, they're like personal pizzas. They're like on plates like these. And I was holding, was it 3 or 4 of them? Something like that. And I went to the table. He said table 21. I went to table 21. I was like, I have your pizzas. And they all already had their pizzas. And they're like, oh, those aren't ours. I'm like, but wait, if they're not yours, I had the whole kind of like who's driving the van situation. And I was looking around, and all the tables had pizzas on them. So I didn't even have anywhere to kind of like set them down. So I was just like, and the plates were getting really hot in my fingers. And one thing about my boss was he had a very street vibe to him, even though, he owned a restaurant on the West Island. Greek restaurant owners, your typical restaurant owners. And he was a very interesting person, but he would also, like, you would never, ever, ever want to like disappoint him in any way, which I did constantly. So I was freaking out, and I knew that I was going to have to drop the plates. I knew that was a foregone conclusion at that point. And my goal in dropping them was to A, create a big scene, and B, make sure that some of the pizza landed on my hand so that I burn my hand a little bit, so that I will get in less trouble because I'm injured. That's how scared I was of my boss. Turns out that the person who gave me the table gave me the wrong table number, so it wasn't even my fault. So I got burnt for no reason. Anyways, that's just one of the examples of me kind of always undershooting expectations upon a first impression. I remember at one point he gave me a compliment, and then I dropped a glass like not even 15 minutes later, and he's like, "See, this is why I never give you any compliments." And I was like, "Oh, but it felt so good to be praised." Anyways, job interviews, I find they're weird. Like, it's a very personal decision a lot of times. They're not actually going off your qualifications. They're going off of what the vibe was, right? So that's why I just always try to be friendly and approachable and blah, blah, blah. One thing I've come to realize in this past year is that there's not going to be a career. I don't think, and I'm not trying to be, like depressive, but I don't think there's going to be a job for me that's like very fulfilling in terms of a career. I don't think that's who I am. I think for me, it's like work is work, personal life is personal life, and passion is passion. And all of my passion goes into my personal life. For me, work is like, yes, there is a fundamental purpose, which is like to give me some kind of function in society and to get outside and interact with people. Yes, that is where jobs hold value for me. But in terms of kind of climbing the ladder or like trying to achieve some type of position and status in society, I really could care less. I would be just as happy doing my own thing here with my podcast. My only goal, short-term goal, is to actually have my own place. My parents are the best people in the world for letting me still live here. If I was them, I would have kicked myself out at 20 or something. They know I'm trying. Anyways, so yeah, personal fulfillment is not going to come from my career. And it's funny because like this has kind of been like a freeing thing. Like I went into my last interview and I said, can I be completely honest with you? And I told the interviewer what I just told you. And she said it actually really worked well in my favor that I was that honest. So it just goes to show you how much bullshit interviews are. But yeah, then we'll see if I get a call back for that. But yeah, you guys feel free to tell me about your interview experiences, if yours have been positive or not. I'm sure if you're actually chasing some kind of position, then you have some more of a path to go through. For me, I'm just sending CVs on Indeed, baby. That's all I'm doing. I'm just trying to get my meal ticket, you know. Hey, who knows? Maybe this podcast thing will take off. I'm really really jumping in while it's still new and fresh. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention the song I played at the beginning. That's kind of a segment I want to start off with each episode. Anyways, what I was playing was the group is called Death from Above, 1979, which is, you know, very indie sounding band. The song is called Go Home, Get Down, and the album is You're a Woman, I'm a Machine. Read into that album title as much as you want. I just like their music. They are Canadian. I didn't really do as much background research as I did last time, but they are Canadian, I know that. They're very much have a style that's like a garage band kind of thing, and the cool thing is they sound exactly the same live as they do on their albums, which can sometimes be a bad thing, but in this case I think it's a good thing. They're very as advertised. I know that they have several albums, but if I were you, I would just listen to this album, You're a Woman, I'm a Machine. That's really where they became famous, because their songs, they range from like 2 minutes to 3 minutes, honestly, most of them, and they're just kind of bangers, as you heard. So they're great gym music, great workout music, great driving music. If you're just like zooming down the highway screaming, it's great. So yeah, and that'll be a segment I do each episode. I'll just talk about the band that I'm recommending. So get on that shit. Ha 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 ha. Absurdist humor. I was talking about that the last couple episodes. I was talking about Tim Heidecker, who is, like I said, the king of parody, of taking established conventions of genres and then just kind of going crazy off the rails with them. And part of what made their comedy so successful is his casting, because he would cast actors who are, first of all, not known at all, and second of all, who are weird. Like he casts weird actors, very strange, either looking or sounding or the way they act, and he will get them to like be completely serious, and it's in kind of their delivery, you know, and it's very hilarious because it makes them seem very genuine, which is a nice counterbalance to how crazy Tim Heidecker and Eric are. But, you know, sometimes they make the actors say some really funny stuff too. I'm trying to think of examples, but like if you just watch any of their kind of Cinco commercials, I'll link one in the description there. But yeah, it's pretty great the way that they're able to use that casting and just find the weirdest looking people. In terms of absurdist comedy, there's Tim Heidecker is kind of the biggest clown. He's very like over the top. Like I said, he gets really goofy with a lot of his stuff. If we're gonna go the complete opposite way, And we're gonna go with today with a comedian who's his delivery is very deadpan and very, very serious, even though what he's talking about is usually ridiculous. Sorry if I'm using absurd and ridiculous a lot. Those are words I like. And what he does, instead of taking weird looking actors, he will take real people and he will try to elicit genuine reactions out of them when even when his propositions are really like hard to believe. The show where he started was a Canadian show called This Hour's 22 Minutes, which is like a sketch show. It's like the Canadian SNL. And what he did small segments where he would kind of interview people regarding it was called Nathan on Your Side. So he would try to have segments that are supposedly helpful to people. One example was he would go see a relationship and dating expert, and then he would talk about the first kiss and like how do you get to the first kiss. Like a lot of his own personal shtick is that he's like a hopeless romantic, or he's just really socially awkward, and he really uses that to his advantage to get people to open up to him and be genuine with him, because it seems so honest from where he's coming from, but he's actually got this whole other thing planned out in his mind. It's like comedic chess. It's really great. So when he's talking to this relationship expert, he's talking about like, how do I get to the first kiss? And she's like, oh, well, both people would have to be ready. And then he's like, well, how do you feel now? Are you ready? Like he starts off using a hypothetical of them on a date, but then he's like, okay, so where do we get to the first kiss? And then she's like, well, we'd have to be sitting closer. And he's like, should you move closer to me or should I move close to you? And then he just gets really up close to her so that their eyes are like 3 centimeters away, and he's still talking to her, and she's trying not to take it seriously, but he's so serious that it's like putting her off guard. And it's the best to see real people kind of react to this, to like being put in awkward situations. So I'll link that one in the description as well. But that was just where he started. Now with Comedy Central, he got signed to an actual show, which he called Nathan for You. So pretty similar premise, except this time it's small businesses in LA that he would try to help out. So he would go to these businesses and he would come up with novel ideas to kind of increase their business at whatever store they were doing, but he never gives good advice. Well, he gives it. Sometimes the ideas are like strangely good, but he never gives like normal business advice. You know, like have a big sale or have like a loyalty program. Instead, it's like this guy opens a frozen yogurt place, or he has a frozen yogurt place, and there's not enough people coming in, so he thinks of like novel flavors, and he's like, why don't you try having a poo flavor? And he's like, poo? So they actually develop like a poo flavored frozen yogurt, and as you can guess, that doesn't sell very well. And sometimes his concepts are so crazy that it goes off in a completely different tangent. For example, he wanted to lower the tariffs for exporting product over eBay. And one way was to, in order to lower the high tariffs on smoke detector alarms, he would classify it instead as an instrument. And then he would, so that, because instruments were much less expensive for some reason to export, he would label it as a jazz smoke detector alarm. And then he would have to, in order for it to be believable, he would have to start a band and then try to get recognized, like have the band get recognized enough so that it would be, so that a smoke detector could pass as an instrument. So like, I know I'm kind of taking all the funny out of it by explaining it, but I just want to give you an idea of like how silly the ideas are and the power of cameras, because these people just would always go along with whatever crazy idea he had. So it just goes to show, like, if you have a camera crew with you and you go to these businesses, then like who knows, you know, like they might just go along with it. But that's a really great show. I don't know how much of it, I don't think you can find much of it on YouTube, but it's definitely something worth. I think they might have episodes on Comedy Central. You might want to check that out. But yeah, his deadpan delivery is just like, I don't know how he doesn't laugh. There's a few genuine moments where he laughs, but it's because the people that he's trying to get a reaction out of say something that's completely unexpected. Like, oh man, I'm trying to remember what exactly it was, but like he's talking to this guy in who runs a deadpan, and like he's saying that his grandson's pee will like make him better or something. I don't want to like ruin it, but it's just, I think I did, but it's really funny. So yeah, check that show out. Get on that shit. It's really good. Nathan, for you. All right, I think this is a good time to stop and say a word for our sponsors. So today's sponsor is Naaman's Horse Laxative. Are you having trouble getting your horses to go number 2 when they're on the run? Are there no runs when they're on the run? Well, we have just the thing for you with our 100% biological, organic, enzyme activated horse laxative. Your horses will become ponies. That's how much they will unload. Naaman's Horse Laxative. Make your clop clop go plop plop. Yeah, we'll get some real sponsors one day. While I was at Tim Hortons the other day, yes, I was at Tim Hortons because I hate myself and I want to do disgusting things to my body. Yeah, I was at Tim Hortons in line and I had a great idea. And I almost don't want to tell this idea because someone else is going to take this and become vice president of Tim Hortons. But I was in line and I was waiting. I was waiting in line and the lady in front of me was ordering donuts. I don't know if you've ever had this happen to you, but when the person in front of you is ordering donuts, it's a very painful process. They will say, oh, I'll have the chocolate donut. And then they're like, this chocolate donut? And then they're like, no, this chocolate donut. But because there's so much space between the person behind the glass, the person in front of the cash, it's really hard for them to coordinate, you know, what donut exactly they're pointing to. And she was getting 12 donuts. So I was just kind of like, well, looking at my watch. And no, it's not that donut. Obviously, it's that donut. And it was very frustrating. So I thought, what if they had these little sheets that you could just tear off, you know, like if you're waiting at the clinic and you have to fill out a sheet or something, and then people can just write how many donuts they want and which donuts they want, and that way you save countless minutes of going back and forth and picking out the donuts. You just give them the slip. I thought this was such a great idea that I said it really loud right in front of the lady that was taking so long to order donuts. And then I was just like, isn't that a great idea? And then I like turned and stared right at her. That's a power move, guys. That's being alpha, okay? And she thought it was such a great idea too that she wasn't even offended. You know, the genius of this concept superseded her being offended by my passive aggressiveness. So yeah, but like that one's free, you know, they're just, it's like fireworks. There's just always great ideas popping off out of this noggin. So you can use that if you want. Feel free. That's a free one. Donut order slips. But yeah, Tim Hortons. Oof. It's the biggest, you know, they're not even trying to hide what pieces of shit they are. Well, they are, because they say always fresh, always Tim Hortons. I know it's a Canadian staple, right? But nothing in there is fresh. It's fresh from the freezer. They just took it out of the freezer, if that's what you're looking for. But I think I'm biased also because I worked there for a year. And if you work at a specific fast food place and then you still go there after you work there, then that's on you. That's because that's gross. Because you've seen how the cow is made, right? And you're still eating it. Yeah. I'll never forget the smell, not just the smell of coming off of you after working a full shift there, but also the grease that's kind of, I don't know how, but it somehow gets caked onto your whole body, and then you have to go home and you have to literally like scrub it off. Yeah, Tim Hortons is pretty gross. I've had a lot of bullshit jobs in the past. I had a fun time there, I'm not gonna lie. It was fun working the drive-thru, you know? That's the best time to practice pickup lines. If I'm gonna go full chat on you. Because if you say something stupid, then they just drive off. You never see them again, hopefully. Yeah. Eating at Tim's, it's a sinful habit. I got a lot of them. My biggest sinful habit, which I'm gonna take care of later in the episode, but YouTube. Ugh. It's ruined me for everything. I don't even watch movies anymore. I can't. That's like 8 YouTube videos straight. And the worst part about YouTube is the comment section. If you're going to go on YouTube, just don't scroll down. Don't scroll down. There's so many bad things about reading comments on YouTube. First of all, it inspires groupthink. All right? It kills your imagination. Whatever you were going to think about what you just watched, you scroll down, that thing is cut off. You're just going to think whatever is written there. Because someone probably wrote something that's a lot smarter than what you were going to think. So yeah, it really kills your own imagination in that aspect. And the people that write in the comments end up telling you how to think and feel about, you know, what you just watched. Another thing is the top voted comments, you know, sometimes they're really funny, but a lot of times they can be like really hateful, they can be really depressing, and they always have this kind of like jaded sense to them, like, oh, yeah, life, you know? So yeah, don't read the comments, guys. Another thing about it is there's always like, this is probably the worst part of it, is there's stupid kind of rehashed comments that you always see at the bottom of every video, like, who's listening in 2020? Or the TV show Scrubs brought me here. Or this is the worst one. It was like that kind of setup joke that people always put, like, no one. Literally no one. ... Or let's just say it because I'm English. .... And then T-Pain. Okay. Or something like that, you know. You can think of a better, a less dated reference, but that is like, it's the worst. It's like the floor of comedy, you know. There's no creativity going on there. You're just filling in an equation. So yeah, I got to do something about that. I got to do something about my habits, my bad habits that I want to quit. That's kind of why I bought this camcorder. I was going to do a whole other series called Habit Hunters, where I tackle a different habit each week, you know. But then I got lazy and I was just like, I just want to talk. But this could be the beginning. This is a small move, but it's a move in the right direction. All right. This is something that I did when I was a lot younger, and I tried it, and it worked for a few months, and it's the only thing that kind of kept me doing things consistently. It's a very simple method, so it might not work for everyone, but I'm a simple guy, so I like things simple. So that's why I wanted to try this again. It's called the X Factor. And what it is you write the habit at the top that you want to keep up, and then you just create a bunch of boxes. Okay? You can write the date that you started at. So I wrote today's date, March 7th. And then it's a daily thing, okay? So every day that you don't do that thing or that you do that thing, then you can put the X. So I know X's are usually a bad thing, but in this case, X's are awesome. They're what you want. So these are my habits. First one, biggest one, no smoking. Okay? It can be tobacco, it can be weed, it can be vapes, it can be chewing tobacco. Alright? But smoking is the worst for everyone. It kills us through the lungs. So I really want to cold turkey. If you're the type of person that is better at kind of weaning yourself off things slowly, then by all means try that. You know, that's why a lot of people got into vapes, so they can say that they're trying to cut down, even though they jack up the nick anyways. But yeah, for me, it's all or nothing, baby. So I gotta cut this thing off. No smoking begins today. Second one, brush and floss, morning and night, every day. Okay. Flossing, I'm sure you know this already, just as important as brushing, maybe more important than brushing. It doesn't matter how much I do it. Dentist always seems to say that I'm not doing it properly. Okay. I'm excavating my gums here. It's like I'm digging some kind of underground railway in my gums. That's how much I'm flossing, but still. Anyways, crappy flossing, better than no flossing. Death seeps in through the gums. It really does. So, brush, floss, day, night, all day. Joe Rogan podcast. Next one, at least 8 hours of sleep. All right. I'm sure this is something a lot of people struggle with. That was going to be my first episode of Habit Hunters. It might still be. But you got to be consistent with sleep. All right. I know that it's tempting to stay up on the weekend, but the more you do that, the more you have the hangover on Monday. It's your body clock. It's like, what the heck, man? I thought we had an agreement. So as long as you're consistent and you're always getting that 8 hours, then your life's going to improve drastically and you're going to live at least 10 years longer. At least, I promise you. Unless, car crash. So yeah, 8 hours at least. And then finally, no fast food. All right, I was telling you guys earlier about the Uber Eats, my addiction. All right, they should be sponsoring me. I'm eating from them so much. And you never feel good after fast food, You might scratch that kind of itch that you had, but you never feel like you accomplished anything, right? You eat a salad, you feel like you've accomplished something in the day. Hey, I had a salad, okay? I got my greens, so gotta stay away from the fast food. No more fast food, no more Uber Eats. Carrot sticks, celery all day, baby. And that's gonna be it. You gotta start small, okay? This is not small. This is big for me, but you don't want to take on too many demons at once. So I'm just gonna take on the biggest ones, and then hopefully that will. I'm gonna check in with you guys next week. We'll see how it goes. But if you want to join me on this journey, feel free. Let me know. You can contact me. You can put in the comments what your X Factor habits are gonna be. But I'm feeling good. Feeling good about the future. I'm feeling good about the way things are trending, and I'm pretty excited about what the future holds in store. So thanks once again, guys, for listening, and I'm excited to talk to you guys again next week. Thanks.